Good morning and welcome to your manual handling training. I'm Jenny Murphy, the manual handling trainer for SASH. Today we're going to show you how to fit a sling to a patient. We're going to do one demonstration with the patient lying on the bed and the other demonstration with the patient sitting in the chair. So first things first, it's really important that you check your slings every single time you use them with your patient. And that includes the very first time that you get the sling out of the packet. It's important to check that all of the stitching on the sling runs in an unbroken line, and then that you give a good tug on all of the loops of your sling, of which there are 4 of them. Once you've done that, then we're obviously ready to start fitting our sling to our patient. So when we're fitting the sling to the patient, we should never assume that the patient can't do things for us. So we would always ask our patient whether they were able to roll over onto their side so that we can fit the sling. However, we've asked our model Alex and she feels unable to help us. So we're going to give her assistance in order to do that. So the first thing that I want to do is to bend our patient's leg. And we do this so that we've got the foot flat on the bed. This is to prevent friction when we're actually moving our patient over. We make sure that the patient is looking in the direction that they're rolling, and then the hand of the side in the direction that they're rolling, we should move out slightly from the body so that when the patient rolls onto their side, they're not going to roll onto their arm and make themselves uncomfortable. With the other hand, we're going to bring it across the chest like that so that it's out of the way. For Priscilla and I, we're going to stand in the position known as a step stance with one foot in front of the other. Priscilla is then going to lean across our model Alex and put her hand on the back of the thigh and her other hand on the back of the shoulder. And I'm then going to match this position. I'll have my weight on my back foot and I will weight transfer forward and push like that. Priscilla will have her weight on her front foot and will weight transfer back and pull towards her. We're going to go on the commands ready, steady, roll, and these are the commands that you should always use when doing manual handling. Okay, you understand. Ready, steady, roll. And as you can see, Alex is now lying inside lying, and Priscilla's going to support her to do that. We've previously sized up this sling as being correct for Alex, the small size. So we're going to open up the sling completely. And for your slings, the flat side with nothing on it is the side that should go against your patient's skin. We're going to line this up with the top of the patient's shoulder. And then you may be able to see that there is a cross stitched into the middle of the sling here. And where the cross middle is indicates the middle of the sling and therefore needs to correspond with the middle of the patient's back when we roll them back so that they're lying in the middle of the sling. So the easiest way to do that is to take hold of the sling either side and bring it in towards the middle so that roughly the edge of the sling is in line with the side of the bed. Now, using the same commands and the same weight transfer technique, we're going to roll Alex onto her back. Ready, steady, roll. We're then going to do the same in reverse. Please make sure that you don't lean over the patient to work on the other side of the patient, because then you're compromising your own posture. So Priscilla, if you could bend Alex's leg for me, ensuring that her foot is flat on the bed. We'll ensure that her hand is a little way away from the body. We'll ask Alex to turn her head in the direction that she's rolling and put her hand across her chest. And this time I'm going to be weight transferring backwards and rolling Alex towards me. So one hand across onto the back of the thigh, the other on the back of the shoulder. Ready, steady, roll. And as you can see, Priscilla is now flattening out the sling. Okay, and then we'll transfer her onto her back. Ready, steady, go. So what you'll now see when we straighten the legs is that Alex is right in the middle of the sling, which is where we want her to be. If she's too far over to one side and we started hoisting her, she'd hoist wonky like that. So the only thing left to do finally is with our leg loops, and we need to get our leg loops under our leg. But in order to prevent unnecessary manual handling, we would not lift up the patient's leg and then put the sling loop in there, because we don't need to do that. Instead, we put the leg loops next to the leg using nice flat hands, and we push down into the mattress and slide the sling leg loop underneath the patient's thighs. Make sure that the two leg loops are equal in length, because again, if they're not equal, your patient is going to start hoisting wonky. And now we cross the leg loops between one another. The reason that we do this is that it's to protect the patient's dignity. Otherwise, if we hoist them without doing that, then the patient's legs will spread as we start to hoist them, and they over-rotate their hips. So we do actually cross the legs here. You may on occasion be asked, especially with elderly males who are hoisted frequently, if you can not cross the legs, because sometimes for men it can be quite uncomfortable. If that's the case, document that. It's fine to do that, but document it in your patient notes. And we're now ready to start hoisting. With the majority of patients, we will actually hoist them in a seated position. So if the patient is in one of our trussed beds, we're now going to electronically sit up the patient in preparation for hoisting. And we use this button here, which is known as the egress button. And what that does is that sits up the patient into a nice seated position. Okay, so we're now going to demonstrate how to fit a sling to a patient sitting in a chair.